Terms and embargoes apply.
Philadelphia's Talk Radio 1210 WPHT HD WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. It's Dom time. Now, Dom Giordano.
It is Dom time. Welcome in. Great event yesterday, as always, over in Cooper River. Even though it was pouring, there still were well over 100 runners. Congratulations, the 9/11 Heroes run to the Audubon Police. Yeah, and I said I get to read out the winners. They have all kinds of categories. One was the team. I think 5 cops from there ran the, 2.5K in an hour, 37 minutes total for 5 of them, put their times put together. And I said, maybe we need them over in Chester County. Yeah, don't mess around with the Audubon Police. Of course, great listener, Nikki, who sends me stuff repeatedly, including took a lot of pictures, comes past the finish line and yells out, you know how they say Geronimo jumping out of a plane? He yells out Dom Giordano to the audience there. Yeah. Love the situation, but they do such an unbelievable job over in Camden County, Cooper River Park. It's a great site. I was just observing this one woman who wasn't running in the Heroes run, just on her own, pouring rain. I don't run in the rain. I mean, these are like stone cold crazy runners. By my count, she went around a quarter-mile track 17 times, and she was running pretty quickly. Yeah, you don't want to run against her. So they do a great job of keeping things alive. I wish the president of the United States, you would think, just in a political sense, particularly after, Afghanistan, this guy would get it. You got to visit one of the 3 sites, or at least do it from the White House. You at least have to pretend. Peter Doocy has uncovered something that just gets at the heart of this guy and his administration. And I don't even think he would say this. It just shows how little political sense they have. It might be coming from the French woman. Listen to this on 9/11. Here's Peter Doocy saying what he was told by the White House staff about why it's not necessary for the president to be here on terra firma, remembering today, because we have a lot of people, growing numbers of people, who have no living memory of this. If you were maybe 7 or 8, you might have some living memory. So that would mean people that are under 30 essentially don't have living memory of this in any kind of context, any sense at all. It's up to people like the President of the United States to be front and center and try to make this day front and center. In fact, an unbelievable number of states don't have a requirement that 9/11 be taught in schools. I think today there ought to be a requirement, but I bet the Philadelphia public schools are not doing it, that 9/11 be put in some kind of context or be some kind of program. How else can you have any memory of it? Here's what Doocy tells us, the Biden staff, their communications people, and I want your instant reaction at 855-839-1210. Here's their excuse.
Well, our focus the last couple of days has been on President Biden here in South Asia. And when I asked a White House official why it is that President Biden was here and missing the 9/11 commemorations at the attack sites, the analogy that I was given is that 22 years after Pearl Harbor, U.S. presidents were not still going to visit Hawaii. That said, the whole point of this trip appeared to be countering China. Everything that we were told ahead of it, they were going to come here to try to counter Chinese influence in the region. But when we finally heard from President Biden, he told us the exact opposite.
This trip was about, it was less about containing China. I don't want to contain China. We're not looking to hurt China, sincerely. We're all better off if China does well. I want to see China succeed economically, but I want to see it succeed by the rules.
So polite chat about China consumed the very short Q&A, which went a whole 26 minutes until the press secretary announced off stage the event was over and music played the president off.
I will take your questions. Let me see. They told me they gave me 5 people. I'm just following my orders here.
My God. Somebody give the guy the chart. Give them the play. Hike. Hut.
Oh, he needs like a wristband, like a quarterback
Does
wristband.
anybody haven't spoken to? No, I ain't calling on you. I'm calling on. I said there are 5 questions. I don't know about
This
you,
guy.
but I'm going to go to bed.
And upstairs he went. President
All
Biden
right.
is
we got
usually
it.
a lot
But
more
we
curious and
do have a
lends
cut. Thank you, Peter. We do have a cut of the music being queued up and Jean-Pierre, or Corinne, not Jean-Pierre, Corinne Pierre, the French woman, saying it's over. Get the hell out of here. All right. And the
Get him out.
and
Get him
the
out of
music
here.
plays. He's right in the middle of some rambling dog-faced pony soldiers. All right. So you heard what Ducey said. One of my favorite moments. All right. So you heard what Peter Ducey said. They were told, well, who would have been president at that point 22 years after? So it would have been Kennedy. Did Kennedy go to Pearl Harbor? All right, so can we differentiate for these people? Now, let's see what they do next year in the throes of the election race after Labor Day on 9/11. Let's see if they pull that again. Are we being too critical here? The idea, yeah, that's right. Presidents don't go to Hawaii anymore. So what's the time limit on this? The point is, this was an attack, a terrorist attack on American soil. Well, Hawaii's American soil. Yeah, right. Okay. It was a military action, mainly, precipitating a direct war. This was an attack upon New York, an attack upon civilians, attack right here in the heart of this country. And it wasn't just New York, of course. They were going to attack the White House, the Congress. They attacked the Pentagon. We know all this. You were there that day. I was brought in, I guess it was around, wish I had the exact clock on that. I know it was before 9. At least I believe it was before 9. The other thing I remember that day is getting a call from Dr. Laura that DJ answered at home. And he somewhat sounds like me. And Dr. Laura thought it was me. DJ's prattling on. She just wanted to know how I was because a plane went down in Shanksville. Weird day. We're not too close to Shanksville, but it was very kind of her.
Wait, so she calls. He
Yes.
answers.
Yes, and they're talking.
But at no point he says, "Hey, this is Dom's son."
No,
DJ.
he doesn't.
He just assumes your role.
Because she must have just launched, "How are you?" and all this, and I just
you could have asked her for doctoral advice. You would have had no idea.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you had. He would have gone on. It had to be like 5 minutes before I knew what was going on from upstairs and come down. Okay. So on this day, Brian Fitzpatrick, and look, he introduced a bill, a Patriot Day Act, to designate September 11th as a federal holiday. With all due respect, I think we would further knock out the significance of this day. Mattress sales, people not paying attention, just another day, another federal holiday. Fine. Which federal holiday are we going to knock off then? No, not Columbus Day. Uh-oh. Another federal holiday? No, I don't think that's what we do on 9/11. They want to make it a federal holiday the day that we vote, allegedly, at the polls. We don't need that anymore, right? With mail-in balloting. Remember all that? All right, phone lines. Give me your reaction to Biden not deigning to visit one of the 9/11 sites, or at least conduct remembrance from the White House. Doing this in some far place in Alaska and saying, they should have just said, well, we had to do this trip now. That's it, et cetera, rather than the excuse, well, presidents didn't go to Pearl Harbor 22 years after the fact. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe presidents still ought to go to Pearl Harbor. And it's a little bit different, is it not? We are allies with the Japanese now. That's a little bit different. Well, we are allies with the Taliban, according to Biden. There's a new book out. We're going to try to get the author on, in which they talk about, even after those 13 U.S. military were killed because of Biden's incompetency and callousness in the airport in Kabul, that the military there were told they had to go on a poop patrol. There was so much human waste, they wanted to make the airport clean for
Poop
the
patrol?
Taliban takeover. New book out talks about that. Just picture that after that type of loss, being degraded, sent into that kind of mission. That's a Biden administration. All right. Now, the thing that I was tempted to lead with, even on 9/11, though, we have new developments in this alleged manhunt. Guy Shiraki, Mr. Chester County, will be here. Told you the other day, somebody on Twitter said to him, Guy, my TV is broken. Should I blame the Democrats? Because he's been blaming the Democrat infrastructure out there in Chester County. And he's right. They just don't care. So now somebody leaves the Dairy Queen. It's like a Mr. Softy truck near Longwood Gardens. They leave it open, not locked, and the keys in it. After all this, what's the insanity with these people leaving unlocked vehicles with keys in it? He steals that. He gets near Phoenixville, I guess. But here are the couple of things that really bug me. One, over the weekend, a couple of his coworkers, we now know, he went to their residence. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the police, with all this manpower, the state police, etc., wouldn't you be staking out people like that? Is that too much to ask? Does that indicate how flawed this whole thing is? Oh, come on now, Dom. I don't care how many coworkers you think he might go to. Isn't that a better way to potentially snag him? We find out the sister got a U-Haul truck and was looking for him and may have been aiding and abetting and is up for deportation. What do you mean up for it? She should have been deported a long time ago. We find out that two of his colleagues, I'll use that name, when he stabbed the woman to death that was his girlfriend, helped him clean up, got a vehicle, and told him to vamoose. They're here illegally too. It's this whole web of people here illegally, a whole infrastructure out there in Chester County because of the mushrooms and God knows what else. And it's just business as usual. And I think law enforcement and everybody else just plays around this web because of how apparent it is. So I'm downgrading here now. I'm putting this, before we were putting it at 50-50, at least I was. Is this good? And I'd give it a 50-50. That's like a C- or something. Now I'm grading it down to a D-, almost failure, when I learned about the coworkers' houses, etc. What are they up to here? Is it that difficult? And what about this whole web of stuff there? By the way, we had another person almost escape. They got out of one part of it, of the Philadelphia prison where people escaped a while ago. What do these all have in common? They don't care. It is not rigid. It is not overwhelming. You have people in charge that just can't run these prisons, can't run these systems. All right, so 855-839-1210. Now, this being 9/11, we have a dual thing going on because our buddy Scott of Mount Laurel tomorrow night is going to broadcast a Phillies inning again. I think it's the second inning on the radio. Did a great job last year. And for fun, he asked us what word or expression should he work into the broadcast. So we thought something that has to do with the show. 40-yard football throw was one that we talked about the other day that I'm going to take off. But
Football throw or just 40-yard throw?
40-yard throw is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, anything over 40 yards. When you call in, you can hit us with one of this because one of it's going to make its way to Scott, and you'll hear him tomorrow night. He's brilliant at this, working into his second inning broadcast. But in addition to that, it's like a double play. You get to do two. And we're going to lean toward the ones for the broadcast tomorrow night, like 40-yard throw. Hit us with an all-time New Yorker on this day. New York under attack, 9/11. I'll take off the board. Sinatra is one of the obvious ones. I'll take off the board. I can't say Woody Allen, even though every list I'm looking at says Woody Allen because all of his films are made in New York.
Yeah, but
Boy, that's really bad for New York.
Yeah.
I'll take Seinfeld off.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to take former producer Joe Sibilli off.
There you go. Good one.
And how about the guy that he's working for now? Very New York as well, Joe Piscopo.
That's very New York. Yeah.
Let's take those two guys off. And then for the primary side question, this is Scott and Mount Laurel thing. Can I propose to you an idea?
Sure.
So let's set our winner today based on this New York one, the alternate. Then let's take the listener's winner of Scott's and Mount Laurel's answer. Let's take my suggestion and let's take your suggestion. Let's put it into a Twitter poll, and then tomorrow Scott will just take that winner and try to fit it into that Phillies broadcast.
That sounds very good.
So the Captain Chucky's prize at $50 is going to be dedicated to that New York side question, but we're going to have a Twitter poll, a whole show thing based upon the Scott answer. So please call us with that keyword that you want Scott to use that's related to the show on the Phillies broadcast tomorrow. Dom, I'm going to throw out two. I'm going to see where I land by the end of the show for my poll entry, my executive decision for what he's going to end up doing. But I'm going to throw out right now breadstick just to get people thinking on the food side of things. We often talk about how much you love those Olive Garden breadsticks.
Exactly.
I just want the keyword breadstick. And then last time we did, what was it? Antelope.
Yes.
I'm going to throw another safari animal out there. How about giraffe this time?
All right. Good enough. I don't know that that's directly related to, well, it is in the bank shot of that. Exactly. Okay. Lot to get into. Here's how you get in. Mike Huckabee is going to be here. And Republicans over the weekend, it came out, want to change the title pro-life movement to pro-baby. Is that the problem they're having with abortion, or is it something else? And I'm going to play you what President Trump said in South Dakota about abortion. I thought it was spot on in a way that only Trump can say it. And this is where Republicans ought to be going if they want to win. Phone lines, 855-839-1210. You can hit. Come on, you know the show. Something even vaguely related. And a little double play today since it's 9/11 day. Remembrance. Hit us with that quintessential New Yorker. 855-839-1210.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. Many of these animals are rescued from desolate conditions. My friends at American Humane have
Welcome in. Very special day, 22 years after the most vicious attack on America. And I don't think Alaska was attacked where President Biden is today. But remember, his staff telling Peter Doocy, well, American presidents still were not going to Pearl Harbor 22 years after the fact. Have they any political ear at all, let alone a human ear, to say that? Is that really the case? Is this Pearl Harbor? No, it's not. You can analogize it to attacks on America, but this is so much different. The Japanese are allies now, you clowns. We still have terrorism out there. We still are at war with those elements. At least we say we are. Now, this is just this guy and the rambling press conference yesterday, just more proof of how out of it he is. All right, here is President Trump in South Dakota, and I like a lot about this. I may stop it at various points. He's got a rally going with Kristi Noem, and he's talking about Roe v. Wade, abortion, and Republicans. Now, Republicans are at least meeting. I haven't put it up on Twitter yet, but I will. Is there any upside to saying the movement is not pro-life because that's associated in the media with a way to get them as much as it is pro-baby? Kamala Harris will play you yesterday, even for Kamala Harris, on Face the Nation, unable to come anywhere near telling us what are the critical thing that Americans want to know, what month, how many weeks, where you are on these things, leaving us to believe what is really the truth, abortion at any time, anywhere, up to birth, and who knows about beyond. Or she just can't think and talk, which is always a possibility. Here's Trump laying out what he thinks about abortion.
Last year, those justices bravely and incredibly ruled on something that everybody has wanted for decades, for 51 years. They ruled to end Roe v. Wade. That was a big thing. And it's probably cost us politically because the other side got energized. And, they're the radicals, not the pro-lifers. But now pro-lifers have a tremendous power to negotiate. They have a power. You had no power to negotiate because with Roe v. Wade, you couldn't negotiate. They could do anything they wanted. We didn't have any of that before this ruling. This moves the issue back to the states where every legal scholar said it should be. And like President Ronald Reagan, good man, but like Ronald Reagan before me, I support the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I support. Not everybody does. I think a large portion do. I think you should, but again, that's your own feeling. Remember, the Democrats are the radicals on this issue because they're willing to kill babies in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and even after birth. They're willing to kill babies. So,
all right, let's stop there. So notice the applause was relatively tepid there when Trump said exactly what Republicans ought to be saying. Now, I'm not sure if the audience got, well, what are we applauding for if we say 3 exceptions, et cetera? But he was exactly on the mark, and he referenced Ronald Reagan, and that was Ronald Reagan's position. And let's face it, what Republicans did for years is get people fired up. We got to change Roe v. Wade. We got to do something about Roe v. Wade. A lot of times there was an element of phoniness with that. You can say all that, you can do all that because you have a sense it's not going to happen. So you can posture, you can pose. Once it's done, to Trump's point there, then there is going to be some political blowback. You got to be ready to deal with that. You got to be ready to explain that this is state by state. Republicans were unable to do that. And look, the media is against them. We know that. In 2022, and look at the results. That's what he's saying there. But notice the applause was very tepid when he said, as Ronald Reagan believed. Why is that? All right. Is it just, well, they had already applauded the headline. They weren't going to applaud that. Or is a bit of unease with the base of people here? I mean, I've said I haven't had almost no one come after me on it. I think it's safe ground for Republicans, and it ought to be where they are. And Mike Pence and people like this, they're just going to play to the outliers in Iowa. Now, Mike Huckabee is going to be here in a couple of minutes. We invited him on last week because of these presidential libraries saying the world is ending. Remember all that? The Bush Library, W. Bush, the Obama Library, and even the Reagan Library, all pointing at Trump as the end of our, quote, democracy. We'll ask him about that, but I'll ask him about where should these Republicans be going with all this when it comes to abortion. All right, you got the side question today. Something associated with the show. And also, who's the face of New York? Who is it you think of when you think of New York? Joe in Columbus, New Jersey. Hey, Joe. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was wondering if you should have taken this off the board. I'm going to say Rudy Giuliani on this 9/11 day. He was America's and New York's mayor.
Well, there's only a little problem there. I think he's, would you not agree, degraded himself in large measure.
I think the media has, though.
No, Joe. Joe, with all due respect, you're not going to get that one on the outside corner. You think Rudy Giuliani's been effective?
Not since 9/11, but he's been attacked. I mean, they're going to if they could make up something, if they could find something, if they could just blow something out of the water and escalate it, they're going to do it.
Well, he certainly is the face of New York on 9/11, but he's brought a lot of this onto himself. I mean, we know exactly what the media is going to do. I agree with this, but Giuliani has not done a good job here. All right, coming up, we'll play you what Kamala Harris said about this yesterday and how out of whack definitely it is and how she can't answer the question on anything specific about any kind of limits. And Republicans, as Trump just did, can play to that. But there wasn't a lot of applause when Trump said the three exceptions. Maybe people are grudging on that. I'm not sure. But that's where Republicans ought to be. It's an obvious thing. Trump gets it. Why do these others not? Mike Huckabee, 855-839-1210. That's how you get in. Hey, September is Cholesterol Education Month, and it's time to take charge. So how's your cholesterol? For over 38 years, Rescue Natural Supplements has been a trusted partner in cholesterol support. I've relied on Rescue supplements for years. With Rescue, you'll find specific supplements tailored to your needs, favorites like omega-3s, red yeast rice, and more. Right now, all you have to do is use the code DROP, D-R-O-P, to double up your order on any cholesterol product for free. Call them at 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Speak to a knowledgeable product consultant or use the code online when you visit res-q.com, res-q.com. Again, use the code DROP, D-R-O-P. You buy one, you get a matching Rescue cholesterol product for free. Now, I personally have seen the firsthand benefits of Rescue supplements. They are incredible. They work. Remember, use the code DROP to double up your cholesterol support order for free today. It is Dom time, one of our all-time favorite guests, because it's not just folksy. It's a combination of Harvard meets folksy. Governor Mike Huckabee with us here again on Talk Radio 1210. Governor, welcome in. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be back. Thank you very much, and happy Monday.
Thank you, Governor. And I mean that. It's a combination of the Harvard, but with the sense of somebody who's taken on the Clintons on multiple occasions. I wanted to ask because my producer Dan said on Friday you couldn't come on. Rehearsals for your show. Remind listeners where Mike Huckabee's show is and what it's about.
I do the Huckabee Show. We tape it in Nashville before a live audience. We have a phenomenal house band made up of Nashville session musicians. And it's really a variety show. It's a combination of politics and music and entertainment. We have obviously music because it's Nashville. We have major political figures of the day. We've had RFK Jr. We've had the President Trump. We've had Pence. We've had Vivek Ramaswamy. We have guests who are newsmakers, but we also have magicians and acrobats and chefs. It's a fun show from start to finish. It's a fun show, and people can find out how to see it at Huckabee.tv. It's on every cable network. It's on most broadcast areas. There's a lot of towers that will carry it, and it's also online. It's on Facebook. I mean, you have to work hard to miss it if you really.
Yep. Are you still playing, Governor?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And most every weekend, like this past weekend, Daryl Worley was our guest. He was the one who wrote the extraordinary song, Have You Forgotten? The one about 9/11. It was on the #1 spot for 7 weeks back when it came out years ago. He's rewritten a new version called Have We Forgotten? And it really is kind of a challenge to the very divided place our country's in. A brilliant song. It's very powerful, and people can see it online if they missed it this weekend.
I'm glad you mentioned that because 22 years after the fact, I don't know if you've seen this today, but Peter Doocy, we just played him with the president, Vietnam, and administration officials told him why Biden wasn't at one of the 3 sites or from the White House, I guess, but one of the 3 sites, usually a president. Well, American presidents didn't go to Hawaii 22 years after Pearl Harbor.
That's what he said.
That's what the Doocy was told by Biden administration's communication officials. Yes.
Oh, my. And so all the presidents, Democrat and Republican, who have every year since 9/11 gone to one of those sites, somehow they were misguided to have gone to those places to honor the dead, the innocent. And this is what people need to never forget. This was not a point of combat. These were not military people who were killed that day in the context of a war. These were civilian moms and dads and husbands and wives. And these were just people going to work one day, working in office buildings and getting on an airplane to go see their kids or conduct business. And they were murdered, senselessly, cold-blooded murdered by terrorists who had no regard for human life and in fact wanted to inflict as much pain and damage upon the American public as possible.
It is shocking, too, and put on your political hat for a moment. Politically, who would be surrounded? Imagine when you were running for president or when you were governor, surrounded by somebody who tries to look. It's not a good look, whatever reason he's doing it on 9/11. But you can't make it worse by making statements. The president of all people has to be the one to help us remember.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's really one of the major roles that a president or a governor or any chief executive has. It's to express the sentiment, the mood of the people. It's why that a leader goes to the place of a natural disaster or even a shooting, or whether it's a tornado, a flood, a train wreck, which Joe Biden still hasn't gone to East Palestine, Ohio. But the reason that a chief executive goes to these places is to call attention to the suffering of people, to identify with them, and to be there on behalf of the rest of the population to say, we haven't forgotten you. and we love you, and we're standing with you. That's an important thing for the leader of a state or a nation to do.
When my producer contacted Governor Mike Huckabee on Friday, we were in the middle of what was a shocker. All these presidential libraries, I think 12 or 13 of them, led by the George W. Bush Library, started it, but the Reagan Library signing off on this disinformation stuff. Our democracy is in peril, all pointing toward President Trump. What's your sense of what's happened maybe with the Reagan Library?
Well, I think they're half right. I think our democracy is, in fact, in real trouble. I would venture to say it's a constitutional republic, but they're half right. It's in trouble, but not because of Donald Trump. It's in trouble because we have a current president whose entire administration has decided to act like a tin pot dictator and use the power of his office to take the police of his agents, the police agencies of his administration, and to try to discredit, disable, and criminalize his political opponent in the next presidential election. This is the stuff of banana republics in third world countries. It is not how the U.S. is supposed to operate. And if we don't stop it, if we don't have people who have the integrity to call this out for what it is, then yes, our democracy is at stake. Not because of Donald Trump. It's at stake if this country allows Donald Trump to be kept off the ballot or somehow keeps him from being elected, not because he didn't get enough votes, but because they disarmed him in some way criminally. And if that happens, then we've lost the country. We truly have. We're no longer a constitutional republic. We're no longer a people of the government. We're a people of those in power. The Joe Biden regime has decided that we are going to be a police state when it fits the Biden agenda. And that, for me, is the single most dangerous thing I've ever seen happen in my lifetime. And my lifetime goes back to the Eisenhower administration.
Governor, I don't know what you're going to say in the next thing, but you're one of the people that I would talk with to try to figure out what to do here. Because as I look at it, other than what we just talked about, trying to block Trump unconstitutionally, Democrats are really progressives on the ropes, the illegal immigration, inflation, and Biden. But the whole card, and they're playing it again and again and again, is abortion. President Trump addressed it on Friday, and I think he did it in the right manner. But there's some inside the Republican Party who don't see the Supreme Court decision as about the states. They want to nationalize everything. How should, in your view, Republicans be approaching abortion?
I truly think that the big mistake is the Republicans act like they're afraid to talk about the issue. It's almost as if we're defensive. Nonsense. We need to show that the contrast is very simple. Republicans have differing views of should we have a 6-week ban, a 15-week ban, a complete ban from conception. I'm an unapologetic pro-life absolutionist, but I realize some people have it a little differently than me. But here's what the real difference is. We believe that we ought to protect life and that every life has value and worth. The Democrats believe that a life is really not that important and that we ought to be able to end a completely innocent human life right up until the moment of birth. They will not. This weekend, Kamala Harris refused on Face the Nation to give any limitation whatsoever to elective abortion. And that's really the contrast. And we need to start being very clear. Look, if you want to disagree with our timetable, that's fine. But tell us this. When is it no longer okay to kill the baby? Just tell us that. Just tell us, is there a moment at which it's no longer okay? Because even in liberal countries like France, you can't take the life of the unborn child after the 12th week.
Let me ask you, though, here's the hard part, and you are at a national level par excellence when you ran and continuing. Do you do the Gingrich-Huckabee approach here? If they don't ask you the question in that manner, they're just attacking, you answer in the manner we've seen before, which say, I'll answer that, but tell me that moment. Well, why can't they say that? I don't hear it enough.
They don't do it, and I don't understand it. It's like Republicans have lost their capacity to understand good rhetorical theory and communication. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And when this first happened with the Dobbs decision, and Republicans were, up until then, for 50 years, they've been praying that the Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade. And then they did it, and then they acted like they were scared to death that it happened. What they should have done is gone right then and there and continued to be on the offensive and press Democrats for, if you don't like the idea that we're protecting human life, then tell us, is there any point in the life of the baby that you would start protecting that baby? Tell us when that is. And they can't do it because they've become so radical that they truly now have a policy that says you can kill the baby right up until the moment it's born. And in some cases, some of them believe even after, which is truly frightening. That's nothing less than infanticide.
Exactly. Well, right on point. Well, let's hope they figure out how to do that. Mike Huckabee, Governor, thank you so much. Where do we find all things, including your show?
Well, Huckabee.tv for everything regarding the television show, and MikeHuckabee.com. You can subscribe to a twice daily newsletter that I have. It's free, doesn't cost a thing, sent to your email inbox every day in the morning and the afternoon, and that's at MikeHuckabee.com.
Governor, thank you. Thanks for joining us as always.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Governor Mike Huckabee. We had him here, Dan, with a book, and I had to say Elvis has left the building. He likes that stuff. I should have said it there, I guess. Yeah. All right. Is at the point now? He is more in that 6-week camp or something like it. But why? And I'll play you what Kamala Harris said yesterday on Face the Nation. It's pretty revealing. Her usual inarticulate, but there's more than that. She can't answer.